This is Rudy at Culloden Painting Studio with another painting guide. I've got a Northstar Military Figures British Naval officer from their Silver Bayonet range, and we're going to paint this fella up today to a fairly high level of finish. I'm going to start off with the flesh. My base coat here is some coat d'arms rat brown. It's also had a little, and I mean tiny amount of black added to it. So we'll paint up his flesh base coat and come back. Got a few steps, a few layers to do for the skin. Each time I'm going to be adding a bit of Army Painter mummy robes into the mix. And I'm going to avoid the recesses. That way, creating shading. And because there's going to be lots of thin layers going on, there's going to be a nice progression from the base colour through to the highlight colour, which will almost be pure mummy robes. This could be 6 or 7 layers. So I'll come back when we're getting close to that final mummy robes layer. Right, I've still got some of the brown mix in, but we're getting close to just pure mummy robes. Each time I'm applying the paint, I'm covering less of an area, and on the face concentrating on the pointier bits that will be catching more light, like the cheekbones, tip of the nose, a little bit on the chin there, and on the ears. On the hands, easiest on this one, applying towards the knuckles. The pure mummy robes is getting applied with this tiny 4-0 brush. This is Army Painter Field Grey that I've thinned with water into a glaze. So apply this to the chin. Just to add a bit of stubble effect. Might need a couple of coats. Glazes are meant to be built up gradually to get the final finish. So I'll continue to do that as I move on with painting other parts of the model. Going to tackle the coat next. I have a colour triad from Wargames Foundry. This is French blue. So the first layer is going to be the shade colour within the triad. Going to try and avoid the buttons and straps as best I can. And I'll apply this all over the coat. The layer of French blue shade has nicely flown into the recesses. Because it was a thin paint, it actually sort of marks out where to apply the next layer, because we see some of the shine through of the primer. So that's all building towards a nice highlighted finish. I'm going to swap down to a smaller brush to continue this once I've got the large strokes taken care of. The final part of the French blue triad from Foundry is French blue light, and keep the highlights fairly minimal. Looking at picking out the edges of folds in the cloth, such as around the lapel and the collars, and on the cuffs. I'm going to push that Foundry triad one step further with some coat d'arms high elf blue. Just tiniest little dots going on corners. The second Foundry triad I'm going to use is Austrian White. And I have his trousers to base coat, as well as his little handkerchief around his neck. And there's a sword strap as well. Continuing with the white, this is the Austrian White mid-tone. Once again, avoiding the recesses, but I should be able to layer this over the rest of the white cloth on the trousers. Naturally enough, moving on to the third colour in the triad, Austrian White Light. A much narrower distribution of this colour so that we get that layering effect. Again, I'll do the back of the model as well. The triad is not quite a brilliant white, so I have some coat d'arms white and I'm using that to add some dot highlights. And a couple of little lines. Got some areas of black to do. The hat, shoes, scabbard. So this is Iron Painter matte black, diluted with a bit of water. And this is going to help establish the deepest shade for these areas. Having it thinned a bit means that it's going to disappear into the recesses and have a little bit of the base primer show through to mark out where the highlights are going to go. The matte black is going to get left as a shadow in the deepest recesses. Most of the surface is going to get coat now of Vallejo model colour German grey. Layering on some highlights now with Vallejo Panzer Aces dark rubber. And now time for some very fine highlights. This is London Grey from Vallejo. The base coat colour for his hair is Vallejo model colour German Camo Black Brown. To highlight the hair, I have some Vallejo model Flat Brown. This is also going to form the base layer of the belt, holsters and pistols. To highlight this brown, I have added some beige brown to the flat brown. Again, a Vallejo model colour. almost a pure beige brown. And with pure beige brown, I'm just going to pick out the very edges. I've also put a bit of that into his hair, just to highlight the ends of some of the strands. The officer has a strap to a bag on his back, and I'll pick these out with some Vallejo game colour Bonewhite. My method for highlighting this canvas bag is to add Vallejo model colour Ivory into the Bonewhite. I'll do a couple of layers, each with increasing amounts of ivory, before a final ivory highlight. Worked up to that final ivory highlight. Moving on to the metallics, I have some Vallejo Game Colour Tinny Tin. I've basically got the epaulets, buttons, butts of the pistol, and scabbard. Oh, and the clip holding on the rosette. The next layer for these areas is some Vallejo model colour brass. Try to leave that tin bits in the deeper recesses. So things like buckles that you didn't see me base coat. And I might have said scabbard when I was looking at the hilt of the sword. The tip of the scabbard did get some of the tin bits. Vallejo model colour gold is my highlight colour. This is Vallejo model colour gunmetal grey. It's the base coat for the cutlass. First highlight for the cutlass is some Vallejo metal colour aluminium. The final metallic highlight is with Vallejo metal colour chrome. I like to use some washes to help define some of the deeper recesses, create a bit of shadowing, and to do a bit of outlining for different materials when they meet. Some Army Painter light tone, I'm going over the canvas bag, letting it run into the creases. Army Painter dark tone is useful for adding shadows to creases. And I can also use this to do some outlining between the different materials. So I have dotted in the eyes with a fine acrylic pen and added some matte varnish to the model. The model's been stuck down to a plastic base, and it will go back to the client like this for them to complete the basing. I'm very grateful once again to my client for letting me make this video. I've enjoyed doing the Silver Bayonet official character range for him on and off. This is part of the 2nd British unit. Great fun to paint. And if you have managed to stick it out to the end of this very long video, thank you very much. I hope there was something you could take from it and put towards your own models. If you've got any comments, please leave them below.